Hey friends, this is Mrs. Wolfie from Our Half Acre Homestead. Today I'm going to start the process to make bouillon cubes. I have 2 bags of these frozen pork bones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roast these in the oven. Thank you, Papa. These are some yabba dabba do. These are ribs, if you can believe it. But anyway, I'm going to put these in the oven and I'm going to roast them a bit. Then I'm going to boil them. But first we want to roast them, because if you roast them, it brings out all the gelatin properties from the marrow of the bones and the knuckles and everything before you boil them. So let's get these in the oven. I've got them on my big cookie sheet, so hopefully there won't be too much liquid fallout. We'll roast them, and when we get to the point we're ready to boil them, we'll be back. Okay, I do believe that our meat bones are ready to come out of the oven. So we'll turn it off. We have to be very careful because there's a lot of juice in this pan. And now we're going to put these in stock pots and boil them down with some salt and some water, and we'll be back. Okay, this is my smaller stock pot. I do have a bigger one, so we're going to put the smallest pieces in here. Some of this is pork, some of this is beef. Mostly the beef is just the ribs, because they've been in the freezer for over a year, which means it's time to use them up. But I never throw anything away, folks, you know me. But we're just going to put these on to simmer, and then tonight we will take the cooked down bones off. Now I could use my pressure canner, but I don't think I'd get all this stuff in anyway. So we're just going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. Anyway, when I get my stock pots full and on the stove, I'll show you. Here's one stock pot, here's the other stock pot, and when this all cooks down, the bones will be taken out and they will all be transferred into one stock pot and then cooked further down. Look who's here for a visit, folks. Say hi to everybody. You guys only get a glimpse. I'm having a visit. I'll talk to you later. Okay, now I've strained all the bones and bits of meat out of this broth. And before I cook it down any further for dehydration, I'm going to put this in the fridge overnight, because this was mostly pork bones. There was some beef, but it was mostly pork. And the fat will rise to the top, and in the morning we'll just lift it off when it's congealed and cold. And then we'll cook the rest down, thus ensuring that most of our broth will be fat-free. Naturally fat-free. Alright, we'll be back when we're ready to get to that step. Okay, this has sat in the fridge overnight, and now we're just going to skim the fat off the top. And if you notice, this broth underneath is jelly, which means we are on the right track, because the jelly we're going to cook down more into a thicker broth, so that when it comes time to dehydrate, it will be easier. Now this isn't as dark as straight beef broth would be, but it'll darken up as it cooks down. Now this isn't going to be totally fat-free, but it's going to be pretty darn close, because there's the fat we've taken off, and this is jellied broth. Look at that. It's going to be wonderful for dehydrating. So I'm going to add now some salt and pepper and garlic, and I'm going to cook this down. Maybe render it down to about a quarter of what it is. And when it gets down to that point, we'll be back. And in here I have about 2 teaspoons of sea salt, 2 tablespoons of garlic, and about a half a teaspoon of peppercorns. The salt, of course, is going to help preserve it, and the garlic and pepper is just for flavor. Now it may seem awful strong when it's down into cubes, but remember, this is going to be reconstituted in soup form. Alright, we'll be back later. Okay, folks. This broth has been rendered down, and it is almost the consistency of thin gravy, although there's no thickening agent in it. Okay, now what I've done is prepared 4 fruit roll-up trays for my dehydrator, and I've learned in the past to put a towel under it when you're doing anything liquid. And I went ahead and I doubled the garlic, and let's just see if I can pour this. I went ahead and doubled the seasonings, and I added home ground powdered onion as well. Now there are going to be flecks of meat in here. There's just nothing I can do about that. You really want your table that you're setting this on to be level. Mine is not that level, so we're just going to hope that nothing pours out. Well, it looks like this is just going to have to dehydrate in the center of each tray, because if I fill it any more, it is going to overflow the trays. So I'm just going to put enough in to bring it up to the edge of the center flue, because all this is the 3-day job, folks, and I really don't want to lose any of this broth that I have now worked so hard to get to this thickness. And this stuff is really almost the consistency, like I said, of a thin gravy, but there is no flour in this. This is all meat and bone broth. Really wish I had one more tray of this. Okay, I'm going to put the rest of this in a jar in the fridge, and I will dehydrate it later. We're going to set our dehydrator at 160 degrees, and we're just going to dehydrate this until it's solid. Okay folks, here's the first tray of the beef bouillon, and some of it is sticking, but it's almost like a fruit roll-up. I may have to turn this over a little bit longer just to dry out a little more. This is more the consistency I was hoping for, so that I could powder it, but some of it's sticking. So if I can get it off of here, then I'm going to turn it around. We'll put this one back in. Let's unplug our dehydrator for a minute so you can hear me. Now I have the kettle on so that I can actually try some of this. I still have this jar of the stuff that I couldn't get on the fruit roll-up trays, and if you look, this is solid bouillon. This just has to be like, this is hard almost. This is hard jelly, and this is going to go on the dehydrator tray once these are all done. I'm going to say this needs to dehydrate just a little bit longer because it's sticking, and some of it is powder, I'm going to be able to powder it because it's crispy. So if you're going to do this, folks, put it a little bit thinner, just a little bit thinner in your fruit roll-up trays, and you will get this nice consistency. I have another bag of bones downstairs and some more beef ribs from last year which need to be cooked up because they're over a year in the freezer. But I'm going to make some more of this. But what I have right here will probably do me 4 soups for a year. Bouillon, MSG and chemical free, and loaded with flavor. Lunch. There it is, folks. When ground up with the spice grinder, I came away with 3 cups, maybe 3.5 cups of pork beef bouillon. Isn't that marvelous? And MSG and chemical free. This is the Mrs. Wolfie from Our Half Acre Homestead saying 3 days worth of work for 3 cups of pork beef bouillon, chemical and MSG free. Absolutely worth every minute of the work. Take care.